All right, everybody. Hey, it's Philip Brudengraber again, coming to you with my third video and third rule from Dr. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, an antidote to chaos. We talked about a couple things already. Rule number one, we talked about stand up straight with your shoulders back. Rule number two, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. And rule three today, to help us through the chaos of life, is make friends with people who want the best for you. We've probably heard, and I've talked about it in my class for any of my students watching, that we're sort of the sum of the people closest to us. 3, 5 people, whoever their closest circle is sort of reflective of who we are. Now, I see it in my classroom all the time, right? I see little groups of people acting a fool, and I can usually tell the few that don't really want to behave like that, and yet they usually get pressured into it just by the sort of group pressure and act a fool and then get in trouble. And I see it conversely. I sometimes see people who will make friends with someone who's doing much better than them, and then eventually I see them doing better as well. Now, I want to give you a story from my own life. My students know I got plenty of stories. And of course, this is another Army one. I finished my basic training, and then before I went to AIT, I had to go to the Defense Language Institute in Monterey, California to learn Russian because I was going to be a Russian linguist and intercept and translate, but I needed to know the language first. Now, I had a number of good friends there. I had a friend, Matt, who was my roommate, still really close with him, another friend, Jay, who was an older guy who was married. Matt's older than me as well. But initially, one of my closest friends was a guy named Ike Bauer. Now, I love Ike Bauer. I still communicate with him every once in a while, still see him every once in a while. He's a great dude. He has a great heart, a very giving, generous guy, but he's also a very chaotic spirit and a very free spirit. And he was very used to sort of just doing whatever it is he thought would be the best thing in that moment. And he was just barely older than me, maybe a year, maybe he was 19, I was 18. And I was very susceptible as I was still sort of forming my personality, my identity, and gaining my self-confidence. I was very susceptible to the pressures from peers. And Ike Bauer and I were getting into a lot of trouble together, right? We were drinking underage, which we weren't supposed to be doing, and we were getting in trouble for that. We got written up for skipping out on a formation and taking a little nap one time. And we were getting in a lot of trouble. And it had become kind of a whole thing. Like the whole platoon knew the pair of us, and we were having a great time, and we were super fun. And everybody kind of liked us. But we also got in trouble a lot. And so this was sort of everybody had that reputation already. We also weren't doing especially well in class. As you might imagine, learning Russian in just 47 weeks is quite a challenge. And initially, I was not doing very well at all, and neither was he. Now, eventually, a few months in, it came down that his security clearance was rejected, or I don't exactly remember what happened, but it was made clear that he was going to be reassigned. He was going to have the same MOS, the same job I had, and he was going to be reassigned. He was going to leave. Now, at that point, my platoon sergeant called me in to her office, and she sat me down, and we had quite a heart to heart, and she made it very clear to me that I was messing up. Which I knew, and she made it very clear that everybody kind of saw that I was messing up. She made it very clear also that she felt I had far more potential than I was achieving, and she also suggested that she felt it was definitely because of the people I was hanging out with, and that I had an opportunity with my closest sort of troublemaker leaving. I had an opportunity to get myself straight, and then to do much better. And she really challenged me to kind of reset everything and then redefine myself and reorganize myself and to do much better. And I took that chance. So my closest friend left. The friends I had remaining that were close to me were all very supportive. My friend Matt and I, my roommate, we did a lot of things to kind of support each other through learning Russian, which was super difficult for each of us. We would spend weekends kind of quizzing each other. We spent a weekend, hey, we're going to just speak Russian this whole weekend. So we really did kind of support each other through that, and we both made it, and we did much better. And it was clear to me that obviously then the people you surround yourself with will have a direct effect on who you are and how you behave. I see it in my own children, especially my teenage children. I see it in my classroom with students of mine. I see it in there. I see it socially out in the world as well. People you hang out with absolutely have an effect on who you are, how you feel about yourself. So, as Dr. Peterson says, then make friends with people who want the best for you. Now, sometimes we make friends with people who clearly don't want what's best for us. Why do we do that? It could be, as Dr. Peterson explains, that we just don't love ourselves well enough. We just don't think that we deserve good, supportive, loving friends. Or sometimes we're so insecure, we'll just go for the quickest ones, right? I had this tendency in relationships. I wanted affirmation through a romantic relationship very badly, and I was willing to just sort of take the first person who showed any interest in me rather than looking at what I wanted, what was best for me, and maintaining healthy boundaries. I was letting people into my world and close to me who did not want what was best for me at all. They were in it for very selfish, self-serving reasons. And so I had trouble with that. I had trouble with the same thing with friends, but fortunately that went a little bit better for me. I was in decent circles and made decent friends in my adult life and continue to do so. We also sometimes get into a pattern where you might want to help someone. You might see someone not doing well and you decide, you know what, I can really help them. Now, first of all, that immediately in my world now, having learned plenty, is a red flag for codependent tendencies. There's plenty of people out there who are absolutely addicted to helping people who are way worse off than them. It gives them some sort of narcissistic thrill, some sort of narcissistic energy, and they really love helping people who are beneath them. That is a terrible motivation. And if that's your motivation, you really need to take a look at why you do that, because it's not a healthy pattern whatsoever. And in reality, while it's great to help people, and I've helped many people, people have to be at a point where they want to change. They have to want help. Otherwise, they're not ready to receive it, right? People who are addicted to drugs and alcohol, they really have to hit that so-called rock bottom, or just hit that point where they're like, you know what, this is just not okay anymore. I just really have got to change this. It happens with weight loss, right? Until you're really ready to be healthy and you really decide, I cannot continue to live like this, you're not going to be successful in a weight loss program or a diet program or an exercise program. So you have to want it. So be wary of that. Don't just go looking for people to help and try to make friends with those people. It's not a healthy pattern at all. It's also very important not to envy others. This will come up again in the next lesson. But don't be after friends because you're envious of them or whatever. That's a terrible motivation as well. And I liked where Dr. Peterson kind of closed this chapter with this. He asked this: would you like this person if they were a friend of your sister, brother, mother, father, right? Look at your own friends in your world and wonder if they were somebody else's friend. If they were a friend, not your friend, but a friend of somebody else, would you like that person? It's a very important question because, again, just like where we were trying to decide, hey, take care of yourself like someone you're responsible for helping, try to step outside yourself and look at it from a different perspective. And if you step outside yourself and you look at your friend relationships and you decide, man, this friend is really just doesn't want what's best for me. This friend really is very negative in my world, brings me down, seems very jealous or envious, oftentimes happens. If your friends are hypercritical of you, that's probably from their own insecurity and perhaps because they're jealous of your success. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people in the world who will be very jealous if you are successful, and they may try to bring you down, either with words or even with actions. And it's very sad, it's very heartbreaking, but it's also very true. So be very careful about that and take a look, take a step back, evaluate your friend groups, evaluate the people you're closest with, and wonder to yourself if they really want what's best for you. And then again, as Dr. Peterson suggested, would you like that person if they were a friend of your sister, brother, mother, father, other people that you care about? Just like the last lesson, think about yourself as someone you're responsible for helping. Take a look at these friends and wonder if they would be good for other people. Would you recommend them? Hey, you know what? So-and-so is a great person. You should talk to them and be friends with them. Or would you tell them, I don't know, that person talks a lot of trash behind their back and they're not really a very good person. And if that's the case, you should stay away from them. Once again, rule number 3 was make friends with people who want the best for you. And I'm Philip Brudengraber. Thank you. Stay safe. Stay healthy.